Greetings. I am Joyce Caldwell, your Synod Vice President. I'm joined here by our Synod Secretary, Reverend Matthew Schlake-Cruz, and our Synod Treasurer, Reverend Karen Paul. We're here to give you a summary report from the conference gatherings we held last fall. Thank you for joining us as we share what we heard in these gatherings and to reflect on who we are in our life together as the Greater Milwaukee Synod and where we may need to challenge ourselves to grow and to go in ministry. We can pause and reflect on our vision, mission, values, and practices at any time, but this reflection takes on deeper meaning every 6 years as we prepare for the election of our bishop. This reflective process is not about any particular leader, but rather about our strengths, gifts, and mission as a synod and our direction for the future. At our 2019 Synod Assembly, we adopted our current statement of vision, mission, values, and practices. You can find that document on our website, milwaukeesynod.org. Much has changed in our church and world in these 3 years since 2019. Considering all the changes and in preparation for the coming Synod Assembly and election of a bishop, the Synod Council called for conference gatherings this past fall. This was in collaboration with the conference deans to assist us with a process of discussion and discernment on who we are and where we're going as a synod. It was our opportunity to look back at where we have been and look forward with clear hopes and goals around our mission of following Jesus, forming communities, and loving all. Approximately 180 rostered and lay leaders met in person within our 6 conferences and virtually in 2 online gatherings. Individually and as a group, we named where and how we have lived well into our vision, mission, values, and practices, and where we have struggled to live into our mission. Based on those responses, we identified new questions we need to ask for the future of the church in rapidly changing and challenging times. A key takeaway from the conversations is that while we have many areas of strong agreement across our synod, we also have differences, some that are based on the geography of where we live and worship.
As the strongest recurring theme, racial and LGBTQIA+ diversity, equity, and inclusion were identified as important values and practices in our synod. And they were addressed in all of our conversations, both as ways in which we have lived well into our mission and vision, and also where we've noticed struggle and challenge. The commitment to racial and LGBTQIA+ justice stood alongside a recognition of racial inequality, covert racism within congregations, and a lack of fully embracing those voices and presence of leaders in congregations who aren't white, straight, or cisgender. While our commitment to racial and LGBTQIA+ justice was a strong theme across our conferences, it stood in tension with the struggle and the challenge to find common ground across these differences, including challenges of division within congregations based on different opinions on issues, values, politics, and culture. And in addition to diversity, equity, and justice, 2 other strong themes expressed how we have lived our mission and vision well in the past 2 to 4 years. First, synod leadership was lifted up as a strength throughout the pandemic, with guidance from our synod leaders on public health, regular meetings and support for rostered ministers, and having those resources and leadership support for congregational leaders, including how to use, embrace, and adopt new technologies. And secondly, the ways we've grown as a synod in fostering community, staying connected in new ways with Zoom, working together across congregations and throughout conferences to love and care for one another. We've learned of new ways to collaborate in ministry, share resources, welcome new people, and advocate and care for those who need help and support.
In addition to differences and divisions, areas in which we have noticed struggles or challenges, they included learning how to be the church and be in mission when we're not together in person. Access to and effective use of technology. Keeping people engaged and reversing congregational decline, and connecting with young families, youth, and young adults. Also, we found that participants in the gatherings named questions that are bubbling up on what we need for the future of the church. And those questions were quite a few, and they are some really deep questions. How do we redefine what it means to be the church and form community in a hybrid world? How do we live into full inclusion of the LGBTQIA or queer community and of our Black, Indigenous, people of color, and people of other languages? How can we better share resources as the church and Synod and all of us together? How do we engage our 20 to 40-year-olds and young families? How can we build and strengthen community and ground ourselves in our baptismal call and be biblical witnesses around topics that our broader culture tends to define as partisan? And how do we define vitality as a church? Are we courageous enough to let go of the old so we can find new systems and can bring those into play? And then we know that we need to invite you into asking questions and reflect on what we need for the future of the church. And so think about these questions. What do we need to continue to do and strengthen? And what might we need to do differently? And what is holding us back as a synod or congregation or conference? We are church together, and we grow stronger together as we reflect on who we are and as we listen to who and where God is calling us to be in this time.
Thank you for being part of the conversation.